Welcome back, everybody. This is NightFlight, and today we are going to talk to Wendy Cicchetti again. 2023 is, right across the corner. And it's time to have an outlook, what energies are coming in and what we have to deal and what we have to work with. So, Wendy, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, so I have to say, when I looked into 2023, you know what hit my one thought that hit me was, the more I look into this, the more I see how they are trying to hijack the energies that are coming in for their personal purposes, and that is so amazing. But let's take it one step at a time. I know when we did our first overview for 2022, I asked you if you had to pick a headline for 2022, what would that be? And you said the year of shock and awe. So this time I will do the same. If you had to pick a headline, what would you say?
That's really interesting. The first thing that comes to me is scrambled eggs. And it's like what you said, because some of the energies coming in, we'll talk about that, are much better energies.
Yeah.
But powers that be don't want us to see that. They don't want us to experience it. So it's just kind of scrambled. Yeah, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be good all at the same time.
Yeah. So last time when we talked, we also touched on that subject, that there will be shocking news coming to the surface. And so do you think, okay, to a certain degree, you could say we hear shocking news on a daily basis now. Yeah. But do you think that it has been already revealed, or is it still in the making?
Not even close. Not even close. There is so much more to come out that is so dark that people will have a hard time accepting it. You know, that cognitive dissonance where you've been so programmed, so propagandized that you can't see the truth. And so once it comes out, people are going to have a really hard time believing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on several fronts, not just on one front. It's going to be across the board. You know, we're in that time frame where, you know, people aren't buying it like they used to buy it in general. You know, it's like, and the media is, at least in the US, the media is falling apart, the mainstream media. There are layoffs, and CNN's about done, you know, more layoffs in other of the networks. And, you know, people just aren't buying it. The listenership has gone down so much, they're not making any money. So they got to do something different because it's all about the money, right?
Yeah. You know, that one reminds me of the layoffs that are going on at Twitter. And but I really had to laugh. And if you get a chance, type in to YouTube a day at work at Twitter, something like that. So when when you watch that video, you can't help but end up with the question, are they running a company, or is that a daycare center for overgrown children? Yeah. And then Project Veritas, they had one employee, and he was some type of engineer or programmer, something like that. So and he admitted that, yeah, if he counts everything together, then he's working 4 hours a week. But he's there, and they have here a coffee lounge, and here they have other stuffs, and then you go from meeting to meeting, then you go to the latte macchiato lounge or whatever, and it's unbelievable what's going on there.
No, I know. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that outcome of Twitter is going to be, because the United States government is trying to destroy Elon Musk, period. They don't want him pointing out their lies.
I don't see him as the savior of
No, I don't
free
either.
speech. Mm-mm.
But the point is, he is fact checking our government, which needs to happen. And so when I see it, I go, yep.
Yeah, I have some ideas about that, how that might turn out. What is interesting that he bought back X.com, and that used to be, when he and Peter Thiel founded PayPal. And so then you could say it was part of PayPal, but it was, yeah, I guess dormant or something. I'm not really a computer geek, so don't quote me on that. So he bought that portion back, and I could imagine that he will turn it into something that is dealing with financial services, something that you could maybe use like PayPal. And I could even imagine that he will come up with his private money, his private currency, and that it will be subscription based. I think that is coming as well.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to recoup some of the losses, because the majority apparently of the people on Twitter are bots. So
Yeah, okay. So we will enter 2023 on a Mars retrogression phase, which ends on 14th of January. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, Mars goes direct then. I think that's on the 12th. Mercury goes direct then. So it's ending all of that. And what's happening with Mars? See, Mars is the trigger for all of it. People don't realize Mars triggers everything. And even though it isn't on something very long, it triggers it. And then it moves on, it triggers something else, And so Mars is going back and forth, but in March, particularly, before Mars moves into it goes from Gemini into Cancer, it's going to affect Pluto, it's going to affect Saturn, it's going to affect Mercury several times. Mercury is forceful communications, aggressive behavior and communications. Pluto is warlike energy. Saturn is warlike energy. And then also we have it impacts Neptune. Well, Neptune in Pisces has to do with insanity. Global insanity and the savior complex, and oil and inoculations and gas and all of those things. So Mars is triggering all of this, and as it does that, more stuff is going to come out, in that regard, especially when Mars triggers Pluto, because Pluto holds the secrets to the dark underbelly of things.
Yeah. And I mean, Pluto is an interesting candidate this time around anyhow. And no, but we will come to that in a little bit. So Mars is the trigger, and it could be, as you said, a forceful communication. Do you think it could, let's say, initiate that time frame when more and more shocking news are coming out?
Because it's in Gemini, And what's Gemini about? Information. Not only
Mhm.
communication, but information. It controls the media, all of that stuff. Education, schools, salesmanship. And what is going on in the world is salesmanship. Everybody's trying to sell their own ideas. It's salesmanship of ideas.
Mhm.
And how
Yeah.
many people you can propagandize into believing them.
Yeah. You know what I have been thinking the last couple of days? I am quite amazed that we do not see on the world stage, as of yet, I have to say, a charismatic figure that rallies the masses as a Pied Piper. Yeah, people might think, yeah, okay, we have to rally behind this individual, and what he says or she says doesn't matter what it, uh, if man or woman, and so that there will be support, but once again, people don't see the dark underbelly, as you said, and that individual actually is, yeah, leading them into their demise even faster. And I'm actually waiting for that any
I am
day.
too, because Nostradamus predicts it. And
Ah,
I don't
okay.
I don't know if you've read any of Dolores Cannon's works on Nostradamus. It's very, very intriguing. Um, but I keep looking for the Antichrist that is apparently supposed to come from the East, that is very charismatic, that's gonna and then gonna lock everybody up in the end, kind of thing. But it could well be that through our efforts, those who are awake, that we have shifted and changed the timelines. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's on
Yeah,
this time.
I guess you could say an antichrist figure, at the very least, and a character like that, because the last couple of days I was sitting here. The time is so ripe. People are fed up, like here, and that is usually when these characters take center stage.
Exactly.
And mm,
People are most vulnerable. Yeah.
mhm,
So I don't
yeah,
know. I like you. I'm just observing who's coming forward. Now, I don't ever listen to mainstream media. I listen to alternative media, but I still listen to what alternative says. And typically when something alternative comes up and I go, let's see who else says that same thing. I don't just buy it wholeheartedly. I wait until more evidence comes out that that's
mhm.
actually true, like with this recent stuff with the cryptocurrency from Ukraine. And that's apparently true. I heard a few things about it a couple of weeks ago and I thought, oh, come on. And then bam,
Mhm.
it shows up. So we just have
Yeah,
to
but
just,
don't you worry, Maxine Waters will be in charge of the investigation.
I loved how she said, yes, we did receive it, but Republicans did too. That has not come out as truth. That was
Mm,
part of changing perceptions on
mm,
people. It's going to be
yeah.
interesting to see what happens with that. you know but yes, leaders,
Mm.
leaders. Now I really like, oh, what's her name, come on, the one that was in the military and now I've lost her name.
Tulsi
uh
Gabbard.
yes, Tulsi Gabbard. I
Mm,
do like her. She's very pragmatic and she's really speaking truth. Okay.
mhm.
And I like that about her. Whether or not she will, emerge as a powerful leader in 2024 or whatever, I don't know. Um, there's another woman, and it's left me, but there was another woman that I was seeing a little bit about, and I thought, oh, why don't you step forward more? We have here in the US, we have that green gal, I can't think of her first name, who's a representative, and she created legislation and implemented legislation through the process that will force the United States to come clean about all of the money that we've given to Ukraine, which is, in the tune of over $50 billion. But where is that money? Where did it go? How was it spent? Because the language of the bills that are used to create that exchange of money are very vague. And she says, we need to have an audit of all that money. Where did that money go? And of course, she's getting into the fact that some of that money was turned into cryptocurrency and then funneled back into Democratic candidates. So I'm glad that she's speaking out. People need to speak out, to stand up for truth. And that's what has been a problem, because we live in a cancer culture where if you speak up against the narrative, they will do everything in their power and sometimes even kill you. But they will do everything in your power to shut you up and to make you, to demonize you and make you a racist or a Nazi or, whatever. So people don't speak up for fear that their lives will be destroyed. So we got to have a lot more of those people who stand up, like the Tulsi Gabbard's, like this green gal who, is speaking truth.
Yeah, so we will see. But it's funny that you are waiting for a character like that as well, because I feel it, in my bones. I thought, yeah. And I think it will be, I think that is just my gut feeling, yeah. I think it will be a male. I think that he might have the capacity to rally people from all nations. Yeah, and I think it will not be a localized phenomenon, maybe in the very beginning, but rather sooner than later, we will see something developing in the direction where people from all over the world are saying, hey, yeah, these are good ideas. We have to support that guy.
Nostradamus was very clear about the individual coming from the East in several of the quatrains. So, I keep watching for that, who's coming in from the East? Who are we listening to?
Yeah, we will see if it's because with the quatrains, I'm not saying it's all nonsense, but to me the messages are very encrypted.
Yes.
And you could interpret them one way or another, and there are a lot of interpretations out there that and we have this obsession with doom and gloom.
Yeah, we do. But that's why I like Dolores Cannon's interpretations, because she was a past life regressionist, very popular, very good at her craft, and apparently was able to contact through a person who worked for Nostradamus and actually contact Nostradamus directly through that person who lived those lives. And he helps decode what he put in there. And so it really makes a difference in, she lists the exact quatrain, and then she lists the interpretation, the direct interpretation of what it means. So it's an interesting read.
Yeah.
So
the last, go ahead.
I said it eliminates some of the mystery.
Good. So the last couple of years, we had this very difficult situation between Saturn and Uranus, the energy that we had during the pandemic, and now it's back again, and so on and so forth. So, but in March, Saturn will move into Pisces. Will we have a different story then?
Well, yes. First of all, Pisces and Saturn are opposite energies. And Saturn is not comfortable in Pisces, and it's actually, I believe, in its fall, which it doesn't function at all in Pisces. And so I think we're going to see kind of a dissolving of the restrictions, a dissolving, because Pisces, water like the ocean, dissolves things. So I think we're going to see some of those restrictions dissolve. And I actually made some notes on that. Let me find the notes so I make sure that I get it all. Saturn in, here we go. Okay. The restrictions and limitations will dissolve, renewal in faith and artistic expression, much more sensitivity and compassionate energies. So that's actually positive because Saturn won't be interfering as much as it normally does because it doesn't function in Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, but we still have Neptune in Pisces, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, let me read that one to you too, because Neptune in Pisces is here we go. It says, the health of our water is in jeopardy. This includes the oceans, lakes, and city treated water. All the chemicals that they're putting. Do not drink city treated water. Oh,
Never.
it means confusion reigns. It has to do with false information, insanity, inoculations. We know what that means. Opiates, storytelling, fantasy, misleading even the well-educated. Structure of reality becomes vague, while the veil between dimensions slowly dissolves. So those who are waking up and have eyes to see will see beyond the illusions and the smoke and mirrors. Also, there is much hidden under the oceans. Watch the water. Important revelations will come forth, exposing government corruption and secrets from the water. So that's Neptune and Pisces. And like I said, it's been there a long time. One of the big things that came out of that is the savior complex, which is, just believe what we tell you and we'll save you. We saw how far that went, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. And you have still a lot of so-called saviors running around there. QAnon is part of it, and there are others. I stumbled on a guy, to me, that is QAnon on steroids. And,
I've never gotten into QAnon, so I don't really
Yeah.
even know,
Yeah. But that is also in part because I'm suspicious of everybody who is running and grabbing for power.
Me too. I am too. And there are many of them that fall into that savior complex. And we've been lied to both right and left.
Yeah.
So it's hard to think that any one person is going to come along. I think to save us, I think it's us saving ourselves. We've got to stand up and do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And we have been trained for decades now, everything has to be comfortable. It has to be time saving. It has to be this and that. It
Profitable.
starts with a horrifying deep frozen TV dinner that people drop in the microwave. And and everybody is more or less kept in this feeling, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have enough time. And so do you think, because that has been going on for many, many years now, and I'm always saying it's amazing what humanity is willing to sacrifice in the temple of convenience.
Right. Well, one of the things that's going to happen, Jupiter is going to change from Aries, which is fiery Aries, fast, 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 go, 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 to Taurus. Jupiter in Taurus is a much gentler, kinder, peace-loving energy. Not only that, Taurus is to simplify, make things practical, okay? Get back to nature, grow your food. It's everything to do with connecting with the earth. And this Jupiter in Taurus for the whole year of 23 is going to really calm things down. This is a really positive aspect for us in 23 and helps mitigate some of the other things. In fact, the second half of 23 is going to be dominated by earth and water. Okay, it's going to be a big change. The air energy that we've had, like with Gemini, you know, Mars in Gemini and Saturn in Aquarius, all of that air energy is going to calm down, and it's going to be in water and in earth. We've got Uranus in Taurus. Okay, we'll have Jupiter in Taurus. We'll have Pluto in Capricorn almost all of 23 still. Okay.
Yeah, that is the point. I'm coming to that because I find that very, very interesting. So, but do you think that we have been trained this way? So, you know, that it's easier for people to fall for the savior complex because of course, it is easier if I don't have to do anything.
That's right.
If I wait for the shining knight to come in and the dude who's going to save the day, and all I have to do is agree and applaud, and that is much more convenient than going out and, you know, practice civil disobedience, for instance. And if that would have been the case on a larger scale, the last 3 years would have been different.
Well, I think part of it is because the you know, it was the wolf in sheep's clothing. We're doing this to protect you. All of that stick about, you know, you get the inoculation for everybody, not just yourself. You know, it's that social stigma. You know, if you don't get it, then you're hurting everyone else. You're getting it to protect everyone, which just turned out to be a huge lie. And so you know, people were blinded by the doctrine coming out of every major, from news to government to everyone, and amazing diabolical plan, in my view, to blind even the educated, even the very educated.
Yeah.
And so what we're having to do is unwind all of that. We're trying to unpack all of that with truth. And it's really hard because so many people are so propagandized by that. They have this cognitive dissonance where they just can't hear it. They literally cannot hear it. And we as human beings don't wake up unless we're really in terrible pain, right? And even then, some people won't wake up.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah. We can't blame people for the choices that they've made because they were propagandized. They believed that their government will save them. They didn't believe the government was lying, you know, or any of its emissaries. And so they did what they thought was the correct thing to do. And I understand that.
Yeah. And I think if you come out of an era like that, for instance, here, this very dark era that we had during Nazi Germany, people that came out of that when the war was over and there was no longer a possibility to deny it. Sometimes I think that must feel like an emotional shell shock.
Yeah.
You know, and even a couple of, when I was a little child, the war had been over for, more than 10 years. But still, here and there, you had elderly people who said, yeah, but not everything was bad. You know, it felt to me as if they cannot fathom the shock what they had believed in. Mm. Yeah. And then there comes a point where it's all falling apart, and then the emotional fallout from that is really extreme.
Yeah, you know, it takes tremendous intelligence to create a worldwide coup.
Mm-hmm.
Takes tremendous intelligence to do that. But intelligence without wisdom is dangerous and creates insanity. There was no wisdom in it. It
No.
was profit, power, and control. You know, just like when the United States developed the nuclear bomb, it took great intelligence to do that. But was it wise to do it? You see, intelligence without wisdom is dangerous and insane. And that's what we've been living with, you know, for a long time.
Yeah, and in general, I would say science would do itself a favor if it would implement ethics to it.
Yeah. And that's the wisdom. And there's no ethics to it. It's profit driven, greed, power, you know, all of that stuff. And as a result of that, what the people need and the truth, you know, is just swept under the rug. They don't care about it. They really don't care about the people, you know. And the way I've looked at it for a long time is your government doesn't care about you. In fact, that's what they call you, wasteful eaters. They don't care about you. They're not going to save you. If you want to be saved, you have got to save yourself. You've got to prepare. You've got to keep your eyes open and question everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
So going back to Jupiter, and so we will, actually, I have to say I'm a little bit hopeful here, because in May, Jupiter will join forces with Uranus in Taurus.
Yes.
And to me, that feels like opportunity knocks. Because what I see coming there is, you know, this grinding down of Uranus, of these useless structures and institutions that we had for so long. Now it will be even more beneficial with Jupiter in the mix as well. What say you?
Well, I think, yes, there is that optimism. Remember that Taurus is the fixer. Taurus is the peacemaker. And Taurus likes everything to be practical and usable. Okay. Get down to the simplicity of it. Get rid of the complexity. And so that's really positive. But Uranus in Taurus, I think that in 2023, there's a big possibility that there will be food shortages because of what's going on with the manipulations with the gas and oil, which also has to do with Pisces, Neptune and Pisces. And so, and I think because of the changes in the weather patterns, that there will probably be famine in third world countries. There's going to be a lot of death, hunger. And I think because of that, immigration is going to be just off the charts. People are going to be leaving the third world countries because they're hungry, because they're dying. And so immigration is going to be another huge issue in 23. So I think we need to be prepared. The supply chains are going to be interrupted. Finances will be interrupted. Now remember, Taurus rules money and finances.
Yeah.
Uranus and Taurus is interruption in the flow of money and big changes in the flow of money. So we can expect that in 2023 too, you know, that there will be, and there's going to be this battle between, you know, a worldwide digital currency that they can track and countries using their sovereignty to create their own financial situation, structure. You know, so that the battle's going to be over sovereignty.
Mhm.
rather than
Yeah,
global.
I think the famine will not only be in third world countries. Already in the UK, they are rationing eggs. And I heard something like that here as well, that we are facing an egg shortage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is just the beginning.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the food shortages, I think we will not be unscathed. It
Well,
might be a bit different in the United States. You have huge pieces of land where you can grow, and yeah,
Gates
but
is buying it all up.
excuse me.
Bill Gates is buying up as much as he can
Yeah, yeah,
for
and
GMO, whatever.
yeah, he's going to feed you delicious GMO.
You know, he's already created breast milk now. He
I know.
started a company to create breast milk, and then there was a baby food shortage. Yes, it's so transparent, people. But yeah, remember that Taurus rules food
Mhm.
and also agriculture. So with Uranus and Taurus, it's disruption in that. But we have the softening, the mitigation of Jupiter in Taurus to make things a little better, a little more palatable. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. So Neptune is still in Pisces until 2026. So, and now Saturn is going to join there. And what, because, Saturn usually doesn't concern itself with dreams, daydreams, and these Neptunian things in its dark aspect, the delusions and insanity. So, what can we expect there? Because Saturn is more like hardcore reality, earthly reality. Yeah, no daydreams here.
And Pisces is fantasy and daydreams. And
Mhm.
remember, Saturn does not function in Pisces.
Good.
And so the hardcore restrictions and all of the stuff that Saturn stands for isn't going to work with Saturn in Pisces. It just isn't. So
Mhm.
we can take a large part of Saturnian energy and just push it to the side and say, okay, you're screwed for a while. Now, when Saturn moves into Aries, that'll be a different ball game, you know. But for now in Pisces, it's not gonna be much of a. But the thing that's issue about it is, in conjunction with Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, it has to do with Pisces energy, with water. And that's what we're looking at, is what are the elemental differences from 2022 to 23. And in 23, it's earth and water,
Mhm.
which is different, a complete change from all the air energy that we've been experiencing, Saturn in Aquarius and Mars in Gemini, and all of that, which is, thinking, and people wanting their freedom. Now, Pluto will move into Aquarius for, March, April, May, June, 4 months in 2023. And so people are going to get, during that period of time, they're going to get, a sense of freedom. But then Capricorn retrogrades, or Pluto retrogrades.
Yeah. That is such an interesting constellation, what is going on there. Yeah. So yeah, that makes me a little bit optimistic. We have Jupiter joining there in Taurus. We have Saturn more or less dead in the water.
That's a good way to put it.
And yeah, so I think there are opportunities, but we have to use them, because if we do not use them, they will be used by others.
Against you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is also part of why they are a little bit, yeah, speeding up the game. It feels to me as if there is this underlying feeling we are running out of time. And then when you start to hasten things, you start making mistakes. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I do. Their diabolical plans for world dominance had a few little chinks in the armor. They didn't count on people waking up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so many people are waking up as things get harder and finances get worse and there's higher, inflation and all of that stuff. And then when people get hungry and there's no food, there are going to be a lot more people waking up. Why is this happening? And
Yeah.
manipulation of money.
That we have a saying here in Germany. If you're sleeping in a democracy, you will wake up in a dictatorship.
Exactly. And that's what's happening in the United States. No question about that.
Yeah. So it would be, I mean, for future purposes, it would be good for all of us, yeah, to be vigilant, even during the good times, because that is usually when baby steps and little changes are being made, but they all lead to a greater concept, a greater
Right.
idea, and that we do not always have to wait until, yeah, the wallet is screaming. And it's really hurting because a lot of this could have been prevented. This is the suffering that is coming now is, yeah, staged.
Of course, it's staged.
Mm.
All of it could have been prevented. The whole pandemic was staged, you know, all of it. But it was done by soulless beings, in my view, who have no empathy or caring. It's all about money, profit, control, and power. That's what it's all about. The globalists want the new world order,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're doing everything in their power to create that system.
yeah.
People need to
So,
wake up about it, that it's not going to be fun.
mm. So now, as you said, on the 23rd of March, Pluto will enter Aquarius and then will go retrograde back into Capricorn.
Yes, indeed.
And then it will settle in Aquarius in 2024.
Yes, late
Yeah,
2024.
late
Yeah.
2024. So, and when I look at the time frame, let's say 1778 to 1799, we had a similar constellation with Pluto, and that was a very, very revolutionary time. We had the French Revolution, we had the American Revolution. And so, do you expect one? I mean, once it is settled, uh, as for 2023, the short appearance of Pluto in Aquarius, to me, that is like, guys, get ready. Get ready for the party.
Well, yeah, things are going to get better, but they're going to get worse before they get better.
Yeah,
Because when you deal with the final degrees of a sign, in other words, Pluto being in, 28, 29, 27 degrees of Capricorn, that's when it really digs in and finishes its work. Pluto destroys. Okay. It destroys and then rebuilds. So when it's in Capricorn, it destroys the structure of governments, businesses, finances, all of that stuff. So you can expect all of that stuff to be destroyed and have to be rebuilt. And so that's what's coming, later in 23 and into 24. Now, when it goes into Aquarius, that's when we really start movement into the age of Aquarius, but we're not there yet.
yeah. Some astrologers expect that this aspect, once Pluto has settled in Aquarius, that it will be even more revolutionary energies than the ones that we saw during the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and everything that was going on during that time frame. So would you agree with that?
Yes, and
Yeah.
one of the things that we see back in the 1700s and is that they were pockets of people that were rising up. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't all connected like we are today with the internet. We're connected as a world today in ways that weren't even thought of back then. And so it was pockets of people rising up and creating like this country in the French Revolution and all of that. But now it's much more global. And what we're going to see when it gets into Aquarius is freedom. Aquarius represents the people, it represents freedom, it represents innovation. Now, the only thing that concerns me about it is Aquarius represents AI.
Yeah.
That concerns me a little bit. All of this bit in even Elon Musk about connecting the brain to a computer. We should be really upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they can do that, they can totally control our thinking. That's what they want. Now they're just doing it by talking to us, screwing up our perceptions by their propaganda. But once they get into our brains and we agree to that, they can control us completely. So I think we need to be so cautious about this AI. In fact, I am so glad that this stupid Meta universe from Bezos has fallen flat on its face. I think they said there were only like 80 people using it. And now he's having to lay off 11,000 workers at Facebook, and he's lost billions of dollars. And people are waking up. You might have some teenagers that want to do it, but in reality, adults do not.
Disney as well. They are having huge layoffs as well. As they say, go woke, go broke.
Exactly. And this woke stuff is destroying countries from within. And that's what they want. They want people concerned about their sexuality and what they identify with, not how to survive. What are you going to do if the power goes off? What are you going to eat when you can't have your phone in your face? What are you going to do, these young people? Do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to cook when you don't have electricity? What are you going to do? We should be teaching our young people survival. And we're not doing that. In schools are to educate, not indoctrinate. And in the United States, they're using the school system to indoctrinate people. And that's not what it's about. See? And that's where we've gone wrong, and we've allowed it, and it's getting bigger and bigger in the US, screwing up an entire generation of young people. These young people were born to save the world. And they've got their heads mixed up in what gender they are. It's not going to matter what gender you are when there's no food or water or power.
Yeah, I have to say, the school system as it is now, I'm not a fan of it, not at all. And I would strongly argue for a classical education. I remember when I went to high school, we read Aristotle, we read Goethe, we read the classics, and and that was good because you get a whole different point of view. Yeah, we read the classic philosophers, and it's not the point, do you agree or do you not? That to me doesn't matter so much, but that you get an opening into another point of view. Okay, you can look at this situation from that angle, you can also look from another angle. And that way you might find a solution. And now what do we have? Standardized texts. Yeah, people that do not know what a tree looks like unless they can look it up with Google.
Yeah, and young kids think that milk comes from the grocery store.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, it's just insane. It really is insane. And history, and I know the textbooks in the United States are continually being changed. Truth is being taken out and propaganda is being put in. And not only that, in many of those textbooks, sex comics and sex things can be ordered in the back of those books. And when I found that out back in the 70s, when I had, all my children, that's when I started lobbying the legislature and the education committee in the legislature. Do you realize what is going on here? And that's when I ended up in the legislature. I decided to run and fix it myself. So
Yeah.
a mess.
So, but you said we will have. How long will Pluto be? He enters in March, and then he goes back in Capricorn. That is when exactly?
And let me look and see if I wrote that down. Pluto goes in. I looked it up and I didn't write down the exact date, but it's later, probably October-ish, November-ish of 2024.
No, that is when he settles. I mean, when we have it in 2023 for a short while before it goes
June
right
11th. It's from March. It goes in around March 12th-ish. And let's see. Okay, from March 23rd through June 11th. Those
okay.
are the dates that it's in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And then it goes after June 11th, it goes back retrograde to Capricorn.
But that are a couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's a couple of months.
Yeah. So, and what did you say? Before we talked about the subject, you said something, people will get a taste of freedom, an idea of freedom.
Yes. And we can use that Aquarius energy for higher mind thinking, for good ideas to help us through these difficult times. People are going to get a taste of it, and then they're going to go, oh, yes, and then the door's going to be locked again for a while. And then it'll open up. But, I told people in several of my videos that 22 was at the bottom of the graph for harshness, for difficulty. And that starting in 23, it was going to go up, 24, everything's going to start getting better. By 25, there should be, it should be, if we don't have an antichrist or what we're talking about, by 25, things should be pretty smoothed out and people are going to be inventing and creating, and be really good. People are going to feel more free.
Yeah, you already mentioned the possibility of timeline manipulation. Do you, I mean, for some fundamentalists, that question will be heretic, I guess. But do you think that ultimately it would be possible to alter the timeline so that an Antichrist character cannot get a foothold?
I do think so. I think the more people wake up, the more people turn to their faith, with prayer, and they really see through what's going on, and they're working to help other people. In other words, we're applying principles of love, principles of family, all the things that they're trying to destroy. If we ignore that and we move forward, we work with small communities of people, to grow food, to survive, where we have love in communities, I think we can change those timelines. But as long as people stay asleep, then those timelines, can take root.
Yeah. So another question that is burning on some people's minds is, how do you see the possibility that, and here we are just talking intuition. Yeah, I want to preface this for World War III. Do you see it developing and culminating in a nuclear war, or would you say no?
From everything that I have heard from people who are psychic and people who have connections, it's that nuclear war has been taken off the table. It will not be allowed. In fact, one of the astronauts who was working in Los Alamos as they were testing the bombs, they were going to do a nuclear test, and they actually saw a spaceship come. They don't know where it came from. It absolutely disrupted the test, and then it left. Prevented the test. Because when we detonate nuclear bombs in our lack of wisdom, okay, it affects not only our planet, but it affects the solar system.
Yeah, there are ripple effects. Yeah.
That's why they allow it. You know, we're crazy if we think that we're the only ones here. There are a lot more advanced souls out there than us, you know, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more evidence of that also, you know, as well.
Yeah, and that was not only Los Alamos. There are a couple of experiences where nuclear weapons didn't work anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's going to continue to be wars, and they're going to use other type of weaponry, but I don't think they're going to use nuclear.
Yeah, that's good that to hear this, because that is what I'm getting as well. You know, of course, you cannot rule it out completely. Yeah.
Right.
And but as of now, that is not what I'm getting, that we will and by the way, I would not be interested in surviving a nuclear war.
No, me either. No.
I would prefer to be vaporized right on the spot.
Yeah. Oh no, me too. But when you think of the gall of the US for dropping those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I mean, to me, that is the epitome of insanity and elitism, that you would destroy all of those people. You know, just absolutely no wisdom at all. Yeah, not good.
And interestingly enough, I heard one, was it Miley? What is his name? General Miley? He was talking about Russia attacking the infrastructure now, you know, utility companies and
that's much more
supplies. And then he said, and that is war crime. And I was sitting there in front of my computer and I thought, guys, that is the first thing that the US Army does in every war. Iraq, Afghanistan, no matter where. The first thing that you destroy is electricity and water for the people. So please do not act as if you are the holy ones.
Right, exactly. No, you know, the United States has been in probably 50 regime change wars since the wall fell. Putin hasn't been in any of them until now. But the United States has been in 50 wars, regime change wars. You know, the United States has big problems, big corruption, you know, changing governments that are more agreeable to our agenda. That's what it's about.
Yeah. So that was a great first hour, Wendy. So we will see the patrons on the other side, and we take a short break here. Until next time, bye-bye.